talk about how we should fix solutions, and if you're not going to sit here and help us fight an ongoing fight that we should have already won years, centuries, decades ago, then you can just go home. But if you want to fight for the people who have to budget themselves every day, who can't even look at this building and say, hey, I'm going to stay there one day, because we know that we're not. Even if we budget ourselves for a year, stuff comes up. Everyone here has already learned that life happens, but this hotel is not life happening. This hotel needs to be brought down. It does need to be changed into something else, like a homeless shelter. I know way too many homeless people. I see homeless people every day, and they ask me and they beg me for money. Yesterday, a woman in a wheelchair, a disabled woman in a wheelchair with 3 bags of groceries. Praise the Lord after I gave her $2. Some of you guys may just be getting like what? $2,000 in a check per month, and that doesn't even help us in a month. We are poor. We are not surviving in a country where they said that all dreams can come true. That is a lie, and I'm here to tell you that it's not true. I was born in this country, raised in this country. I'm gonna probably die in this country. Maybe I might just die by the hands of Donald Trump, because his words are not just words. They do hurt, and they do hurt other countries a lot more. Countries that are not afraid to bomb us if they feel threatened. If a man can say to his own people, the people that he's supposed to be fighting for, if he can say to them, I don't want you here, you need to leave. If you can't afford to stay in this hotel, then bye. Well, what do you think that they will tell the other people across the globe, other countries that may not even like us? He will say stuff like, you stink, because he thinks that it's funny. Well, guess what? Nuclear powers stink too, and I'm not trying to get bombed over the hands of someone who can't even hold his tongue, someone who can't even hold his feelings behind the curtain. But I'm glad that you can see and hear what he has to say about all of us, because that should show you he does not care. He has no filter. I want to know what he really feels about us, and if he really feels like he doesn't want the people that built this country in this country, then he does not need to be here. You need to fight with us. Unity is the #1 key. If you work every day, if you're on your way to work, if you're about to go to work and you're just stopping by, then you need to stay with us. You need to fight with us. You need to spread the word. You need to fight not just today, but every day that this building is open. The only people that's going to be here are people that can afford it, people that are against us. People that will stay here are people that don't even want us here, people that don't understand the reason why we're fighting. We should not build that wall. I seen a sign that said build that wall. The only wall that we should be building is this wall against racism. That's the only wall that we're supposed to be building. You see here in this semicircle, you see blacks, white, you also see Arab Americans, you see Mexicans, you see all types of unity. You'll see all types of people. I don't care if an alien comes down from the sky and decides to join with us. It's all about unity. It's all about sticking together. And that's the problem that we have. People like him can come into this country and separate us. We've been separated for way too long. It's time to get together. We all bleed red. So it's time to start acting like it. Let's fight against him. No Trump. No racist USA.
No KKK. No racist USA. No Trump. 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 No KKK, no racist USA, 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 no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA. No Trump. No KKK, no brothers and sisters. I'd like to recognize we've had people come from so many different places and organizations. I'm glad to see some of our friends from DC for Democracy here. And one of the issues that they raise a lot of awareness about in this city, that's an issue around the country, is big money in elections. And I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I think that the Bowser administration, the mayor of this city, has to answer for why they took thousands of dollars from the Trump organization. That they did not somehow have the ability to do the most basic surface level research about who this person was. Who did not know that Donald Trump was a boorish, bigoted, probably racist, most likely an idiot, even prior to him running for office? He has just reconfirmed and elevated what those already knew about him. But it shows something about the political officials in this country, local and federal in Washington, D.C., that I don't know what they thought, that it was just all right, that they could take his money, grease the wheels, give him the Old Post Office Pavilion, allow him to put himself there. But we say, no, this is 2016. You shouldn't be able to do business on the taxpayer's dime, on the so-called America's Main Street, and be someone who preaches the kind of racism and bigotry and hatred and division as Donald Trump. So that's why we're here. That's why we're building this wall against racism. We're denormalizing Donald Trump. It's not about political candidates and elections. We say no matter what race, no matter what party, no matter what business, in this year, in 2016, if you're going to say the things he said against immigrants, against Muslims, against Latinos, against disabled people, against women, against black people, we can just go on and on and on. If you're going to say those types of things in 2016, you shouldn't be able to just roll out of bed the next day, open a business, and act like you're just some regular person walking down the street, get tax breaks, get privatized streets, get all sorts of unbelievable extra special treatment from the government. If they're doing some sort of process to determine who controls this, I don't know how you don't become disqualified by that type of behavior. And so that's why we are here to denormalize that type of understanding in this country, where you can have that sort of rhetoric, and rhetoric that can lead to those sorts of actions, and then still want to be treated as if somehow you have the same level of equality as everyone else when you seek to deny him, which is why we say no Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, no Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, no Trump, no racist USA, no Trump, no KKK, 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 no Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, no Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, no KKK, no racist USA, no Trump, no KKK. So we also have here with us someone who actually has been protesting this hotel for some time now, Mr. John Capozzi, here representing Washington, D.C., also our former shadow rep, and he's been out protesting this hotel for some time.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out this morning. It's really exciting to see that we're not going to be welcoming the International Trump Hotel. It's actually an international embarrassment that Trump is opening a hotel here. And you know, originally I grew up in New Jersey. Well, Trump stands for bankruptcy in Atlantic City as far as I'm concerned. And so the last thing we need is to bring that to Pennsylvania Avenue right here in our own community. But the interesting thing is that we're going to actually help him out this time, because our goal is to make sure that no one actually stays in the hotel, and that eventually we can get the GSA to turn the hotel over to a responsible vendor, someone that we can be proud of here in this city, someone that's going to be able to actually, that we can support, because the fact is that Donald Trump is not someone worthy of that here in our community. Now, as a former shadow representative, I think it's important to talk about DC statehood. Do we have some statehood supporters here today? Well, the interesting thing about DC is that the boundary for the state of New Columbia actually goes right on the other side of the street from this hotel. So it's possible that people like the Trump who, wouldn't be paying taxes if DC became a state, and I think we should change that. I think it's important that we know that if we're going to be a state, we need people that support DC statehood, especially people who might own a large business like this. Well, the fact is Donald Trump doesn't support statehood. He actually doesn't even understand the issue of statehood. But maybe someone will ask him about it. I hope people in the press are going to question him on that, because I think it's important to know where he stands. I know where Hillary Clinton stands. I know where Bernie Sanders stands. And Bernie Sanders voted for statehood. They support the idea that we need equal rights here in the nation's capital, and we don't need an international embarrassment like Donald Trump. Thank you.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go.
No Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump.
No KKK, no racist USA.
Say no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA.
No KKK, no racist USA.
I don't know how I forgot to mention this earlier, but us chanting no KKK reminded me of this. You know David Duke, the former leader of the Ku Klux Klan, now so-called advocate for the rights of white people. He is running for Senate in Louisiana. He's running for several offices down there, so former head of KKK running for office. He actually recorded a robocall for Donald Trump. Now, a robocall is when you call around, you record a message, people call you candidates and they say vote, and so he's calling out and he says, he starts out with, sorry I missed you, and I felt myself thinking, well, whoever got that is, I'm sure, not sorry that they missed you. Sorry I missed you, and then goes on to say how the country's being destroyed by immigrants, how white people are being outnumbered, actually, is one of the things he says, and how they should be fearful. And if they wanted to stop this, they had to make sure they got out the vote for David Duke and Donald Trump. Now, when that got out, they immediately disavowed this. But just the fact, I mean, I'll just be frank, even if I had no association with them at all, I would be very concerned if the things I was saying were of such a nature that David Duke, the most notorious Klansman in the last 50 years, thought that he should record a message telling people to vote for me to forward his agenda. Those are the sorts of people who are backing Donald Trump. Not all. Many are misguided. Many do not understand. Many think they're doing the right thing, and many of them, I believe, ultimately can be reached by messages like ours. But some are the worst type of people who there are. So we're going to have a type of presence that's going to be going on here throughout the day. Someone who walked by earlier said, get a job. Many of us have jobs, which is why we're moving in and out of this protest. People have been coming from outside of the city. People have taken off work, unpaid days off to be here because that's how important it is. So I want to hand off here to Radhika Miller, also from the Answer Coalition. We will be here, we will continue to protest, and we will say no to Donald Trump, stand up to racism. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eugene. So just a quick check. We have been here since 7 in the morning, and I know I took the day off. So how many people here stopped by on their way to work or took the day off work, right? Yeah, because this is so important to us that we're here. We can see we have Co-Pink at the end. We have retail workers. We have people standing here for statehood in D.C. And why? Because all of these issues are connected. And we're here, we're talking about Donald Trump. We're standing against Donald Trump. But not because Donald Trump is the man, an evil man, because he's a symbol of everything that is wrong, right? He's a symbol of racism. He's spreading racism. He's the symbol. He is the face of bigotry. He is the face of bigotry, racism, sexism at this time in the United States. We're not just standing against Donald Trump. We are standing against all those things. And that's actually an important distinction to make. To say that no matter what, whether it's Trump, if it's Hillary Clinton who's saying those things, we're going to stand against that too, right? But this is the thing here in D.C., right? This is a federal building. This is a historic federal building here in D.C. And people will tell you that, you know, the way to beat Donald Trump is at the polls. And what we say is the way to beat Donald Trump is here in the street. And this is a good example. Donald Trump got to lease this historic federal building for 60 years from a Democratic Obama administration. Donald Trump got to take a lane of Pennsylvania Avenue, got to take the Pennsylvania Avenue sidewalk from a Democratic administration in the District of Columbia. These security guards back here, while we're at this line, they're telling me that this sidewalk is private property. This is not private property. This is Pennsylvania Avenue. This is the people's property. Nobody gets to stand there and say that this is private property. This is Pennsylvania Avenue in the District of Columbia in the United States of America. This is public property. And the public here, look at us. We're white, we're black, we're brown. We're standing here and we're saying, you know what? If this was your private property, we'd be here still. Because we're standing against racism, we're standing against bigotry, we're all united against it. We have students here, we have people who are retired here, we have people who are in the middle of their working careers or their working day, who are stopping here to say, we stand against racism, we stand against bigotry, we stand united. And we will stand up to Donald Trump or whatever the face of the bigot in America is. No Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, no Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, no Trump.
No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA, no Trump. No KKK, no racist USA. Brothers and sisters, we are here in front of the Trump Luxury Hotel. Today is opening day. He built his hotel, he leased it for 60 years, and none of us will probably ever be able to afford to stay in a place like this. For some reason, our politicians believe that we need luxury hotels in a city where the working class is suffering on a day-to-day basis. So we're here to say that now is the time to unite. Now is the time to build a struggle of working people against the billionaire class, against Trump and his billionaire friends, because those are the people who are going to be staying at his hotel, not any one of us. We need to continue to expose the contradictions of an economic system that works to serve the rich at the expense of all of the rest of us. To those Donald Trump supporters who say, go get a job, most of us have jobs. Most of us are not getting paid enough for basic survival. Most of us are struggling month to month to pay our rent, to pay our very basic bills. If one emergency comes up, we're sentenced to a lifetime of debt, hospital bills, tuition.
all of these things that working people are facing. Yet the city decides to give a federal building and to open it up for people who can afford to pay $500,000 to stay here on inauguration weekend. Trump is a sleazy landlord. And in order to generate more and more profits, all he does is pay off politicians. He said it himself. Whenever he wants something, he doesn't care, Democrat, Republican. But what we need to understand is that the people who are in the billionaire class, the people who are in the 1%, they are all friends. They are all benefiting from our labor. They're all exploiting our labor. Even for this hotel, the people who are working on this project, there are lawsuits out against Donald Trump for not paying the workers fairly, for not paying what he should have been paying them. So to really defeat Trump, to defeat the far right, to defeat others like him, we need to build a movement against the true culprits. And the true culprits are the banks, the corporations, the companies that are making millions of dollars off of the labor, for example, of retail workers. $11.50 an hour in Washington, D.C. One shirt at a retail store is more than what the average retail worker makes in an entire day of work. Selling one shirt. That's the country that we live in. Donald Trump wants you to think that if you're having trouble finding a job, it's because of the Mexicans and the other immigrants. He wants you to be afraid of Muslims, to support the U.S. agenda of going to war in Muslim countries, which we all know the United States profits from. Donald Trump has attacked everyone. He has attacked Black people, he has attacked women, he has attacked the LGBTQ community, he has attacked immigrants, he has attacked Muslims, and he is blaming everyone but himself and the rest of the billionaire class for the economic instability that we're experiencing in the United States today. What he's promoting is a conspiracy based on fear and division. We're here to say that we're not going to allow him to divide us. We're here united. We're united, Muslims, Arabs, Black people, Latinos, LGBTQ. We're all standing here together against this monstrosity, against this slap in the face. How can you build a hotel like this, $800 and up, a minimum of a 4-night stay, in a city with over 8,000 homeless people, in a city with 40,000 people on the public housing waiting list? How? We're here to say we do not accept this. We're standing against it. We're going to fight Trump and whoever else promotes these policies, promotes these economic decisions that are hurting working people. Because we are working people. And those of us who don't have jobs, it's because they have not allowed us to have jobs that pay us a living wage. Sometimes we can't even afford to get to work through this public transportation system that many politicians are trying to privatize, similar to the space in front of this hotel that has been privatized. Public space taken over by private entities, by individuals with a lot of money. So what does that tell us? The American dream is a false narrative. We're in the American nightmare. The nightmare is, if you want to live a decent life, if you want to be comfortable in any way, you have to pay for it. You're not allowed to have the basic necessities. You don't have a right to housing. You don't have a right to gain knowledge through education. You don't have a right to move around the city freely unless you have the money to do so. So if I'm working part-time at a retail store making $11.50 an hour and I want to go visit a family member across the city and it's gonna cost me $6 to get there, well then I just can't go see that family member. And what people like Trump are telling us is that we deserve that. We deserve to have our movement restricted. We deserve to not be able to live in the cities that we come from. We're not accepting this. We're going to be out here all day protesting the opening of this luxury hotel. I want to read out the list of some of our endorsers. This protest was initiated by the Answer Coalition. We'd like to thank the many unions and progressive organizations that have supported us, including the Washington Teachers Union, Local 6, AFSCME District Council 20, AFSCME Local 2401, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 58, the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 400, 1DC, Popular Resistance, Stop Police Terror Project DC, Democracy Spring, Code Pink, Rhizome, Latin American and Caribbean Action Network, Queers Without Borders, and the Party for Socialism and Liberation. No Trump, no KKK, no racist USA, 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 no Trump, no KKK, no racist USA. We'd like to welcome our next speaker, Martha from Code Pink.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So my name is Martha, and I work with the women's peace group Code Pink. And this is my colleague.
Hi, my name is Alice. I'm the outreach coordinator for Code Pink.
And we are here today to stand in solidarity with our communities that will be further marginalized by a Trump presidency or even by a Trump gaining of power. The mobilization of energy in this country around racism, around bigotry, Islamophobia, homophobia, the phobia of anything that is not straight, white, male, and wealthy, is damaging our communities today and every day, and will continue to do so until we as a people can stand up and say that we are ready to stand up for what we know is right. We are ready to stand up for things that are different, to say that diversity makes us stronger. Diversity makes our communities beloved communities. So Code Pink is here today to say that Trump will not be a president for peace. Trump is not a person of peace, but will bring us more of the things that we are combating in our communities, including intolerance and bigotry and racism. So I'm going to invite my coworker Alice to speak a little bit about why we are here today to speak on behalf or in support of refugees and immigrants and their rights in the United States of America.
Thanks, Martha. Hi, everyone. Wow, I'm really excited to be here today because I am excited to stand up against hate. I was born from a mother who wasn't from this country. She immigrated here from Japan, and I myself was born in Tokyo. I know a little bit of what that racism feels like being in America, being in the United States. I never want to see hate happen to her or anybody else. And I think being in DC, we already see racism happen, from gentrification to homelessness to people of color being murdered by our police. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we don't back down. It's time that we stop hate. And it's time that we stand up together and say, we need a president for peace. We need to stop militarization. We need to welcome people to our country because our country is built by immigrants. Thank you.
When I say no Trump, you say zone. No Trump. No Trump! No Trump! No Trump! No Trump! No Trump! No Trump! Dump 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 Trump! Woo! I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Anise Jenkins.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. This is extremely important. This post office, this was the Post Office Pavilion. This is on Pennsylvania Avenue, no more than 5 blocks from the White House. I think we get the message, don't we? Somebody wants to move up a little bit further on Pennsylvania Avenue. But are we going to let him do it? Fannie Lou Hamer said in 1968, "Is this America?" She was talking about the fact that she couldn't even answer her phone without hatred, without death threats, without people saying that she couldn't be a real citizen because she was black. Well, I'm asking today, I'm asking you, is this America, the land of the free? Is this America where people are afraid to go to work, where people live in the shadows, where people do not have the citizenship that they're working for, although they're paying taxes, they're supporting their families, they're doing everything that they're supposed to do as citizens? Is this the America that we want today in 2016? I say no, 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 Dump Trump.
I think everyone here agrees Trump should be dumped. Trump, as that sign reads, is not the solution. Trump is the problem. Trump and people just like Trump, who trample on the working class so that they can make super profits at our expense. I want to call up Raheem Anthem. He's a worker involved with the group Project Retail. Come on.
So I actually wanted to bring up something to your attention. One of the greatest laborers in the United States of America's history is the slaves that were brought to this country to actually do the labor of the slave owners who did not want to do the work themselves. This land was built on behalf of the blood, sweat, and tears and the souls of black folks. It was made to basically profit off of skin. It was made to basically profit off of the mindset of the individual, to make sure that they did nothing but work to help bring survival to this country. If it was not for the slaves of this country, there would be no hope for this country. And with Donald Trump's face behind a public entity, a public center, is basically saying that all the work that the slaves did, all of the hatred that was given to us throughout the centuries of this country is basically being handed right back to them. It's basically being handed right back to the bigots, it's handed right back to the racists, it's handed right back to the devil we call the blue-eyed white man. It's really disgusting. It's terrible, and it's getting to the point where 2016 might be one of the worst years that we can recall in the contemporary United States of America. I wanted to also bring to my attention is just the fact that we're protected or surrounded by our public workers we call police force that really, I feel, guard us from basically the danger they consider themselves. They sit, they stand, they stare, they antagonize us to make it believe that they want us to actually help. And it's really sad to see the people who we think actually want to protect us see us as an actual threat. And also standing behind us with the guards. They're just as much as workers as we are. They are being paid by bigots who don't want to stand and protect their own grounds because they'll just pay money to have people stand around and stare us down to make it seem like it's theirs, but actually it's not. They will go home just like the rest of us and look at the change that they have to scrap up off the ground. It is time for us actually to look at each other and realize that we're all human and that we all come from the same Mother Earth and that we